Wadr. Promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar, 7 p.m. in Cotonou. Good evening and welcome to Newslink on West Africa, Democracy Radio 94.9 FM and online at wadr.org. First, our top stories. Protest intensifies over the adoption of students and teachers in Oyo State, southwest Nigeria, as protesters demand victims' release.
The only offense they committed is going to school.
If the state government could not ensure that these pupils are out within the next 24 hours, this protest will continue.
Senegal's ruling Pastef party denounces interrogation of its MPs, Mario Sagna and Sheikh Baranjai, by the Gendarmerie Brigade. Ghana and South Korea signed diplomatic visa waiver deal, marking a significant step in bilateral relations.
Diplomatic and service passports have now been fully covered. The next phase will be to bring on board ordinary passport holders.
Burkina Faso dismantles 25 illegal gold offices with 93 cases under investigation. Please stay with us for details of these stories and more.
On the news, this is Augustine Bill Coley.
Thank you for joining our broadcast. We begin in Nigeria, where anger and frustration continue to grow in Oyo State over the adoption of pupils and teachers in Oriri local government area. Residents took to the streets of Ibadan today demanding urgent government action to secure the victims' release. The protest comes amid heightened concerns over school safety and the rising wave of kidnapping in parts of the southwest region. Our correspondent Yechenu Sasetu reports.
A high-level federal government delegation visited the Ogbomosho area of Oyo State to meet with community leaders and families of the abducted persons on Sunday. Today, dozens of protesters, including civil society groups, teachers, and residents, marched through parts of Ibadan, calling on authorities to intensify rescue efforts and improve security around schools and rural communities.
As Nigerians, we are not asking for too much. We are asking that Nigeria should be safe for all Nigerians.
They carried placards demanding the safe return of the abducted pupils and teachers. Human rights activist Kayode Bayomi says the situation reflects a broader failure in securing vulnerable communities.
And I can tell you, if the state government could not provide enough security, if the state government could not ensure that these pupils are out within the next 24 hours, this protest will continue. A moderate protest is coming on Monday.
A teacher, Folake Akinsanya, expresses deep concern over the safety of her colleagues.
The classroom is not a battlefield. We don't need to be scared to teach these children. The children committed no offense. The only offense they committed is going to school. And the teachers, the only offense they committed is going to teach them.
Reacting to the protest, the executive assistant to the Oyo State Governor on Security, Sunday Odukoya, assured residents that government and security agencies are working to secure the release of the abducted victims.
Let me assure you also that the government is not folding hands on this matter. It's only that there are some issues that we don't need to open up to the public so that all our methodology on this matter will not be leaked out.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Union of Teachers has directed all public primary and secondary school teachers in Oyo State to withdraw their services from schools beginning Monday, June 1, 2026, until further notice. For WADR, Yechenu Sasetu in Abuja.
In Senegal, 2 members of parliament from the ruling Pastef party were summoned by the Gendarmerie Research Division today. Mario Sagna and Sheikh Baranjai were questioned about matters relating to their recent statements. However, their political party, led by National Assembly President Usman Sonko, warns against the manipulation of the justice system. Imo Edet reports.
One of the MPs, Mario Sagna, announced on social media that he had been ordered to appear before investigators at 10 a.m. However, the parliamentarian stated that he would not comply with the summons and had already informed the gendarmerie of his reasons. According to Mario Sagna, his decision is not motivated by a lack of confidence in Senegal's justice system. He said, and I quote, "This is not out of distrust of the Senegalese justice system. On the contrary, it is to refuse and prevent the gendarmerie and the judiciary from being been involved in an undertaking that will discredit them by violating both the Constitution of Senegal, the rules of procedure of the National Assembly, and the rules of procedure of the ECOWAS Parliament, end of quote. Another passive lawmaker, Sheikh Barra, known for his outspoken criticism and comments directed at President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, was also summoned by the same investigative unit. The summons come just days after a controversy involving Sheikh Barra. On May 26, during the swearing-in ceremony of Usman Sonko as Speaker of the National Assembly, the MP reportedly narrowly avoided arrest. The incident followed claims he made on social media concerning the outgoing Minister of Finance and Budget, Sheikh Diba. The parliamentarian had alleged that the minister held a personal bank account containing hundreds of billions of CFA francs. A bank statement circulated online in support of the accusation, but was later declared a fake statement by the financial institutions concerned. Meanwhile, PASSEF issued a statement on Sunday expressing outrage over the summons. The ruling party warned against what it described as any attempt to use the justice system for political purposes and denounced, in quote, political intimidation. The matter continues to attract significant public and political attention.
Imo added with that report, meanwhile, Senegal's President Bassirou Diomaye Faye has nominated General Biram Diop for the chairmanship of the ECOWAS Commission. General Diop, who served as the Minister of Armed Forces in the outgoing government, will have his nomination submitted for approval at the upcoming ECOWAS Summit of Heads of State and Government scheduled for July. If he succeeds, he will replace Dr. Oumar Aliou Touré, whose term expires this year. Usma Oumar gives the details.
For the 2026 to 2030 term, Senegal is expected to assume the presidency of the ECOWAS Commission following a decision taken last year at the Summit of Heads of State and Government of the West African Regional Bloc. For that position, Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye has selected General Biram Diop, who served as Minister of the Armed Forces in the outgoing government. The announcement was made on Sunday in a statement issued by Senegal's Ministry of African Integration and Foreign Affairs. According to Senegalese authorities, General Diop possesses the ideal profile to lead the executive arm of ECOWAS, particularly at a time when the region is facing multiple security, political and institutional challenges. Trained Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces, former Chief Military Advisor to the President of the Republic, and former Chief of Staff to the Air Force, General Diop also brings extensive international experience gained at the United Nations, where he served as a military advisor to the UN Secretary General on peacekeeping operations. Authorities in Dakar have also highlighted his expertise in security sector reform, his research work, and his commitment to the training of senior African leaders. General Biram Diop's candidacy will be submitted for approval at the next ECOWAS Summit of Heads of State and Government scheduled for July.
Usma Oumar with that report.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Well, Ghana and South Korea have signed a visa waiver agreement for holders of diplomatic and service passports. This diplomatic partnership marks a significant step in efforts to deepen bilateral relations and ease official travel between the two countries. Ghana's Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Blakwa says the deal is the first phase of a broader plan to eventually extend visa-free travel to ordinary passport holders. Nadia Dete tells us more.
The agreement, signed on the sidelines of the Korea-Africa Foreign Ministers meeting in Seoul, will allow eligible passport holders from both countries to travel without visas for official engagements. Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Blakwa says the arrangement is a major milestone for relations between Ghana and Seoul and forms part of efforts to improve international access to Ghanaian passport holders.
We are probably the only African country that has been able to negotiate that, and this is just a beginning. It is an important first step because diplomatic and service passports have now been fully covered. The next phase, the final phase, will be to bring on board ordinary passport holders. And I'm quite confident that the negotiations will end positively and we shall bring on board all our citizens so that we can continue to add value to the Ghanaian passport.
Mr. Ablakwa says the agreement reflects growing confidence in Ghana's passport system, citing recent improvements including enhanced security features and chip-embedded passports that meet international standards. He also credited officials of the Foreign Affairs Ministry, the Passport Office and Ghana's diplomatic mission in Seoul for helping secure the deal.
I want to use this opportunity to thank all my technical officials, including the ever-dynamic Ambassador Kojo Choi, who really was on the ground doing a lot of the legwork.
Beyond the visa waiver agreements, the Foreign Affairs Minister used the Korea-Africa Foreign Ministers meeting to advocate stronger economic cooperation between South Korea and African countries. He told delegates that Africa's drive towards industrialization, digital transformation and regional integration presents opportunities for mutually beneficial partnerships with South Korea. South Korea's Foreign Minister Cho Hyun described Ghana as an important partner in West Africa and reaffirmed his country's commitment to expanding cooperation in trade, investment, technology, innovation and human resource development. The agreement will now be submitted to Parliament for ratification before it can officially enter into force. For WEDR, Nadidi Tete, Accra.
Let's turn to the Gambia, where the government is raising alarm over the safety of its citizens living abroad. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation and Gambians Abroad expresses deep concern about recent xenophobic tensions involving foreign nationals in South Africa, urging Gambians living there to remain highly vigilant. In a statement issued on Sunday, the ministry says it is closely monitoring the situation through its mission in Pretoria and is actively engaging South African authorities. Sandona Mendy tells us more.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says it is following developments in South Africa amid reports of tensions and incidents involving foreign nationals. According to the ministry, the Gambian mission in Pretoria remains in close contact with South African authorities and community representatives to ensure the safety and welfare of Gambian citizens residing in the country. The statement noted that the South African government has publicly condemned the xenophobic violence and reaffirmed its commitment to protecting all residents under the Constitution and the rule of law, regardless of nationality. As a precaution, Gambians living in South Africa have been advised to remain calm and vigilant, avoid areas affected by protest or public disturbances, keep their identification and travel documents readily accessible, and maintain regular communication with family members and community networks. The ministry also urged Gambian nationals to stay in contact with the Gambian mission in Pretoria for updates and any necessary consular assistance. Officials say the mission will continue to assess the evolving situation and provide support where required, adding that further measures may be considered should circumstances warrant additional intervention. For Newslink on East Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sagnala Mendy, reporting from Banjul.
Meanwhile, the Mauritanian Coast Guard says it has intercepted 223 would-be illegal migrants as part of the surveillance and rescue missions in waters under national sovereignty. The individuals arrested included women and minors, all from Senegal, Gambia, Guinea, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, and Cote d'Ivoire. According to authorities, the migrants were protected in accordance with the legal and humanitarian procedures in force. The Mauritanian coast is experiencing a resurgence in operations to apprehend irregular migrants who are leaving mainly from sub-Saharan African countries heading towards the European coast. You are listening to Newslink on West Africa, Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM, Dakar, Senegal, and online at wadr.org. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Protest intensifies over the adoption of students and teachers in Oyo State, southwest Nigeria, as protesters demand victims' release. Senegal's ruling PASTEF party denounces interrogation of its MPs, Mario Sanja and Sheikh Baranjai, by the Gendarmerie Brigade. Ghana and South Korea signed diplomatic visa waiver deal, marking a significant step in bilateral relations. Still ahead in the news, Burkina Faso dismantles 25 illegal gold offices with 93 cases under investigation. We also have guest interview and a sports update. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Thank you for staying with us. We are streaming live on YouTube at WADR and on Facebook, WADR English Service. Let's now take you to Burkina Faso, where the National Anti-Gold Fraud Brigade says it is investigating 93 cases related to fraud in the marketing of gold between 2023 and 2026. The judicial exercise followed the discovery of several illegal mining companies, allowing the recovery of more than 10 billion FCFA in fines and the seizure of 78.8 kilograms of gold. These results were presented at an awareness workshop in Bobo Dioulasso during the weekend. Veronique Njai tells us more.
During the event, the National Anti-Gold Fraud Brigade, known as BNAF, presented the results of its operations over the past 3 years. According to the brigade, 93 cases linked to fraud in the marketing of gold were processed between 2023 and 2026. These investigations resulted in the recovery of more than 10 billion CFA francs in fines and penalties, while authorities also seized over 78 kilograms of gold. The brigade further revealed that 25 illegal gold buying and selling offices were dismantled during the same period, highlighting the scale of fraudulent activities affecting the country's mining sector. The awareness held during the weekend brought together trainees from the National Center for the Qualification of Non-Commissioned Officers of the Gendarmerie. BNAF officials warned that gold mining fraud, money laundering and illicit financial flows continue to threaten state revenues and Burkina Faso's economic security. They emphasized the crucial role of judicial police officers in detecting and suppressing such offences and called for stronger collaboration among all stakeholders involved in monitoring and protecting the nation's mineral resources.
Veronique Njai with that report. Now to electoral matters. Vote counting continues in Guinea after the legislative and municipal elections held on Sunday. The elections are expected to pave the way for the establishment of the country's parliament and the Executive Council of Guinea's 375 urban and rural municipalities. While the government applauds the peaceful conduct of the ballot, describing it as the final step in the transition process, the opposition alleges widespread irregularities and low voter turnout. Christopher Aticho completes the story.
Nearly 7 million Guinean voters were called to the polls on Sunday to elect 145 members of parliament and councillors for the country's 375 municipalities. According to the General Directorate of Elections DGE, the dual elections was conducted without any major incident. However, Abdoulaye Robaude, leader of the Fondek party, disagreed with that assessment, alleging irregularities during the process.
There are very few voters. We also observed that there is an unsealed ballot box in the polling station where I voted, and that is an anomaly that is unacceptable. We cannot understand how voter cards are found here with pre-marked ballots in advance. That is not acceptable. Our delegates are being refused access to the polling stations, and the information coming back to us from the interior of the country is not clear enough regarding the clarity of the vote and the transparency of the vote.
According to several observers, the elections failed to attract significant voter participation. In many polling stations, turnout remained low throughout the day. This situation was criticized by Fayame Lemono, president of the Bloc Liberal Party.
What I see is not very encouraging because they aren't going to pull out figures for us like 99% participated in the vote, when we can clearly observe that there is, in fact, an emptiness.
For his part, Prime Minister Amadou Uriba welcomed the successful organization of the elections. He described the vote as an important milestone and said it marked the completion of the transition process underway in the country.
This is an extremely important step for the history of Guinea. The process of returning to constitutional order has been particularly laborious but rich in lessons. Today, we are at the end of the process.
The General Directorate of Elections says provisional results of the legislative and local elections are expected within the next 48 hours.
A report from Conakry correspondent General Alpha Ibrahim Albalde, presented by Christopher Aticho. Let's now focus on educational issues. In Liberia, more than 57,000 students are writing the 2026 West African Senior School Certificate Examination, WAS. The high-stakes examination, which commenced today, Monday, will determine university admission opportunities and graduation eligibility. Education stakeholders view the outcome as a critical indicator of Liberia's post-war process in strengthening academic competitiveness within West Africa. WDR's Monrovia correspondent Ibrahim Parker reports.
A total of 57,393 12th grade students from 1,126 senior high schools across the country have registered for the regional examination. The candidates include students from all 15 counties, along with 3 schools in neighboring Guinea that operate under the Liberian curriculum. Speaking ahead of the examination, Dalek Boto, head of WAEC Liberia office, urged the candidates to remain focused, disciplined, and avoid all forms of examination malpractice during the testing period.
Over the years, we have some students who have been attending institutions that offer technical and vocational subjects, but those students have never been given the opportunity to do the exam. So we have 12 additional subjects that will be done by these kids this year, 2026. The Ministry of Education has actually given approval for 30 new subjects to be included, and these subjects are mainly technical and vocational subjects. You are required to pass mathematics and English on the exam. You will also be required to pass civics.
Across several counties, schools and academic institutions have completed study classes, mock examinations, and revision exercises in recent weeks in an effort to improve students' preparedness and overall performance. In Liberia, the examination plays a critical role in determining whether students qualify for higher education opportunities both locally and internationally. The examination period is also expected to test the preparedness of schools, teachers, parents, and education authorities as thousands of students gather at examination centers nationwide under strict academic regulations. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
Politics,
analysis on major news,
social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Well, Guinea remains a focus, and this time civil society groups are reacting to the legislative and municipal elections held on Sunday. The CSO deployed election observers across the country to monitor the electoral process. According to the Union of Citizens for the Emergence of Guinea, the election unfolded generally peaceful but with some irregularities. Our guest is Amadou Barry, president of the organization.
Thank you very much. Our organization has already been accredited to conduct election observation throughout Guinea. We have also established a headquarters for receiving, centralizing, and analyzing information gathered in the field. So far, our assessment is that the voting took place in a relatively calm environment in the areas covered by our mission. No major incidents were observed. However, we did notice a low voter turnout 2 hours before the end of the polls. They did extend the closing time to 7:30 p.m. But what we can tell you overall, and this is a very general observation, is that the population did not turn out in large numbers to vote. Also, there was a significant shortage of equipment.
You mentioned a shortage of equipment in some polling stations. What explanations have been provided by the teams from the Director General of Elections who are on the ground?
We don't have that information at the moment. We don't have an explanation for that. We are following the process and will do so after the data analysis, after the data centralization and all the feedback. We are currently working on it and will deliver the final version of what we have been able to do in the field, and you will have the detailed information.
And why do you think Guineans didn't turn out to vote in large numbers?
You know, we just came out of the Tabaski festival. So, during Tabaski, many Guineans travel to the interior of the country, not only to celebrate there, but it's also a time for other Guineans to come and see their relatives and spend quality time with them. we think that also played a role.
The campaign was marked by tensions and disagreements surrounding the electoral process. So, did you sense that on election day?
We don't feel that on the ground today, though, but we can say that perhaps this reluctancy also stems from that. Perhaps other people felt it wasn't worth their while to participate in these elections. They thought it was a rigged race from the start. We can say that even if there were no violence incidents, there was still a reluctancy among many people in this population, but not particularly so.
The opposition is denouncing certain irregularities. The DEC Front, for example, says it has observed unsealed ballot boxes. So what could explain this situation? Are you also encountering this kind of problem on the ground?
No, we haven't encountered that. In any case, our observers haven't reported any of the information we received to date. We haven't seen that. But we did find missing voting booths and some polling stations. We went to places where we found only one voting booth, not three. So that was the only one we were using. Yes, so far, we haven't observed any violations of voters' rights.
Mr. Barry, what are your recommendations based on what you have observed on the ground?
Well, for the moment, what we can say to the authorities regarding the findings we have made is to continue working to reassure the population, to really work on inclusivity, and also to work on respecting the right of all political parties, because that is what will bring credibility to the elections, and that is what will also contribute to the participation rate of citizens for the upcoming elections.
Amadou Barry is president of the civil society organization Union of Citizens for the Emergence of Guinea. And now in sports, Tanzania and Senegal, the two finalists in the Total Energies CAF Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2026, will meet on Tuesday night in Rabat to declare the winner of what has been a thrilling AFCON Under-17 competition filled with suspense and dramatic results. Tuesday night's final will be played at 20-hour local time, 7 o'clock GMT and 10 o'clock Tanzania time at Mulai El Hassan Stadium in Rabat. Tuesday's decider will bring together two sides that have demonstrated resilience and mental strength throughout the competition. Tanzania will be aiming to lift the Total Energies CAF Under-17 AFCON trophy for the first time, while Senegal will look to further reinforce their reputation as one of Africa's leading producers of young football talent. Both finalists prevailed through a nerve-cracking penalty shootouts following closely contested encounters, setting up a fascinating showdown. And that's the latest in the world of sports. With that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM, Dakar, Senegal, and online at wadr.org. Thank you for listening. Many thanks to Maudo Juf and Joacino Capa Gomes for the technical support. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X, Instagram, and Facebook at WADR English. I am Augustine Curley. Good evening.
We thank you for listening to Newslink in Nigeria on Love FM Abuja and Darling FM Owerri. In the Gambia on Hot FM Banjul, Hilltop FM and Veritas Radio in Serekunda. Thank you for listening on Alternative Youth Radio Lofa County, Liberia, Radio Kegaman in Nimba County, and DCN Radio Riverses County. A big thank you to Radio Graft FM in Sierra Leone for listening, and in Ghana we thank Radio Pad in Damango and Royals FM in Wenchi. Thank you all for listening to Newslink.